So I'm Shauna. I'm a PhD student at Queen Mary in the computing department, and in my spare time I work with MzTEK. So MzTEK is a learning community that was established by Sophie MacDonald and Sally Northmore in 2009. It was established by learners for learners, and they were looking to create an environment, particularly with an interest in supporting women in technology and new media, to learn new skills and pick up new technologies. It's a non-for-profit arts education initiative, and it's kind of got a couple of different aims. So one big part of what we do is we run workshops. So we run workshops on Arduino and processing and LilyPad, and we will advertise and get people come in who will spend a whole day working on a project. We also try and create a platform for debate and to get people networking and meeting other people and creating spaces for skill sharing of different, working with different technologies and softwares. And we also just try to actually raise the exposure of women who are working in the arts and technologies and new media in the industry. So why women? Well, there is currently an imbalance in the number of women working in the technology industries and in education. So currently I think it's about 20% of people on computer science courses are female, and we kind of want to see that boosted, and it's great that it's going to be in the school curriculum now, so that hopefully people will be getting exposure from a young age, and it should be helping to kind of shift that. And when we run workshops, we do tend to run female-only workshops when we're running actual courses, just because we want to create an environment that's relaxed and that is welcoming and where people feel comfortable. And we found that at the minute that's kind of what works for the people who are coming. However, we also do a number of public events and public workshops where we do it's mixed genders, and people get to work together. And we have often it ranges from young people to older people, and we have families, sometimes parents and children working together. So we do a range of different things, and I'm going to talk you through a couple of these different types of events, because we have these impromptu short drop-in type workshops which have a much shorter time scale. We do a lot of events at festivals where people are passing through and can sign up, and then we have things that people can actually register for and will pay themselves. So the tech workshops, as I said, it's all open source and open hardware, things like the Arduino, a lot of soft circuitry with the LilyPad, and a lot of using processing and data visualization. We also do exhibitions and events. So we recently were working with the Open Data Institute, which was founded in 2012 by Tim Berners-Lee, and MzTEK were asked to curate a number of artworks to adorn their office space, and we managed to get a really good mix. It was a mixture of male and female. It was an open call, and we got some really interesting artworks that were kind of calling into question what open data is, how it can be used, and kind of commenting on what all this data that we're producing and using means, and how we can kind of make it more accessible and start questioning its role. Before that, we also did an exhibition called Chai-Tech, which Rain was a part of, where we had a number of female artists responded to an open call about tea and different, from the historical to the just the social aspects of tea drinking, and there's some really inventive and really exciting projects where teapots were just hacked and transformed into wonderful creations. And we also do a lot of peer-to-peer geek outs where we have people informal setups, so sometimes down the pub, and we'll get people to come in and give short intros to a piece of software that they're using. From basic, it can be like the TMT was meant to be a 10-minute tutorial that extended out more to 20 minutes, just sort of half an hour. But the idea was to go through things that maybe you see as simple parts of your work process, so like using GitHub or like using the terminal, and these sorts of things that were quite small, quick to grasp, that people give an intro to, show some of the applications, show what it's enabling them to do in their day-to-day, and then create an informal space where people can chat and ask, okay, that's great, I'd like to do that, and point to resources. And that's kind of a key aspect actually of when we are working with groups of people, it's to get them to talk to each other and point them to all of the communities online, the forums, and the resources that are available to them to make sure they know where to go to find out help and ask questions and things like that. And we also put them in, try and get them to stay in touch with one another so they continue the conversations beyond. So our approach. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we go about running workshops, and particularly I'm going to talk about the public workshops and how we engage with people in relatively short time frames, and try and make the projects engageable, accessible, and things that they can then continue pursuing in their own time. So again, as Rain said, it's we try and think about the audience. So we do a lot of different workshops in a lot of different environments. So from Secret Garden Party, which is quite a lively party festival, to Green Man, where we have children and families often coming in doing it. We do projects at the V&A and at the Barbican, which are often themed. So the Barbican do their Barbican Weekenders, and it will be given, it's all about neuroscience in the brain. And we'll try and think of a project that's thematically related, and that will take a concept. We try and make, these workshops are often only a couple of hours long, and we normally have a pretty tight budget to work with as well. So it's not really feasible to kind of set people up with an Arduino and get them actually making that. So we try and think of what's the kind of the most that we can achieve in this time frame. What's a concept that they can take away, an artifact, something that they've made that they can have time to shape and make it look how they want and play with. What's achievable in that time constraint. So we try and take an approach which is always scalable. So again, it's that thing of thinking, okay, what's the bare minimum that someone could achieve in this amount of time, so that it's really frustrating otherwise if people are sitting in a hot tent in a festival slaving over a bit of circuit, and then at the end they haven't finished and they have to look disheartened as they walk away. So we try and make sure that, okay, how can we make sure that everyone gets to this point first, and then they've got time at the end to embellish or take it further or add additional levels to the circuit. And another big thing is clear instructions, obviously, but making time for troubleshooting at the end, because it ends up to ensure that everybody gets to take away a working circuit. It means you normally need one person running around and making sure, and often it's just simple errors. It will be having crossed over the threads at some point that you just need to be looking out for to make sure that you can avoid that. So here's just a few projects that we did last summer, and which kind of gives you a gauge of the different audiences. So on the left we have, it was at Secret Garden Party where Tracy was helping out, and it was making merkins, which are meant to be a decorative piece for your pubic hair. So that was obviously aimed at a much more adult audience. Then we had at Shambhala a masquerade mask, where as you danced or it responded to sound, we had LEDs flashing. And then we had a festival tech sheet, which was at Green Man and a couple of other festivals, I think. We took that because it was quite a basic, simple workshop. And again, it was, as Rome was saying, it's a detachable piece of fabric where you put your soft circuit on it, and then it can be attached wherever people want. So and it was basically just a simple switch circuit with LEDs that could be made more elaborate or less elaborate, but was very achievable in a couple of hours with a very mixed range of skills. At the start of any workshop, we tend to give out little handouts which give you the schematic and explains what the components are and what they're doing. And again, as I was saying, we have different scales and a range of handouts for people who want to try slightly more complex circuits. And as you can see here, we get great people who look like they're having a really fun time. And again, different levels, people who make very intricate pieces and do very beautiful needlework, and other people who are we always have a big mass supply of sticky back felt, so that when people's frustration with threading needles gets to a breaking point, we can go, okay, it's all right, we can stick it down and make something robust that will work anyway. Here, so this was Green Man, where there was also a toy hacking workshop happening, co-located in the same tent. So we were doing just a basic LED, flashing LED circuit, but we had these children who were making the most bizarre kind of concoctions of taking Barbie doll bodies and teddy bear heads and being like, I want them to flash. And we responded appropriately and then tried to integrate the two, so which they loved and which was at times Yeah, the only thing I would say about working with young people is remembering, normally we have about an age limit of we say it's advisable if you're under 8, you should have a parent or a sibling who can help you assist, because otherwise it tends not to happen, and if there isn't one, then you can end up doing the work for them, which isn't good for anyone. So I would say being firm that it's going to be more enjoyable for you, and if you have someone with you to work with, if they are quite small, but sometimes it's hard because they're very cute. And yeah, so we've got a real range from a very simple kind of handout, which is just a basic circuit, and then everyone reinterprets this in different ways. So that's our general approach, that someone will have something to take home that they've made, that they'll have grasped the understandings of how a circuit works, will understand what the different components do, and that they'll have had fun, and that they'll have had time at the end to embellish and put their own stamp on it. So I'm going to talk really briefly about a Hacked Human Orchestra project that we did a couple of years ago in collaboration with Guerrilla Science, who are they're an organisation that try and make science fun. They work a lot with cultural organisations and at festivals, and they try and bring science into a live event and installation. So we were working with them and Concannon, who work a lot with soft circuits and craft, to kind of comment on the technological life that we are leading. So they were really great to work with, and it was nice having the opportunity to not just carry on our own, but respond to other people's ideas of what they thought would work, and they had kind of different approaches. And we were lucky to get funding from the Royal Academy of Engineering as well, which was nice. So for this we wanted to make a Hacked Human Orchestra. The original idea was that we would have the group of people from the workshops actually performing and walking through the festival, playing themselves and their instruments that they were wearing. This became a little impractical, so we decided, just due to amplification, whether people would actually want to perform, and so we wanted it to be kind of inclusive, that everyone would feel comfortable. So what we decided to do instead is we were going to make a recording. So we got a sound composer on board named Florian Numino, and he worked with us to record the makings of people's own instruments after they'd completed. Before this, we had some workshops in London at the Centre for Creative Collaboration, where we're based, where we got people to build some simple piano circuits, because we knew that we were going to be limited for time at the actual festival, so we thought, how could we break it down? So we had a few different types of 3 different types of circuits that we were working, that again went from a more simple to a slightly more complex system, so that people could decide what they felt comfortable doing. One was just a very simple pre-made re-recordable unit, so we could make a big box t-shirt. One was a piano, just using capacitor and transistor, and one was a screech circuit, which makes a very unpleasant noise, where we used fritzing to make a little PCB circuit. And these were the 3, and then people were encouraged to make different sensors to experiment and extend the circuits during the workshop. In the tent, we created a separate section at the back, which was kind of closed off, which became the studio. So after people had finished making their t-shirt, their creation, they were sent off into the back with our audio engineers, and they were encouraged to play each other and play what they'd made. And this was then used to go into the final recording and video, which I'll show you in a moment. And again, they were kind of made aware that this was going to be put out afterwards, so that they had a reason to kind of come back and find out what MzTEK were doing, and also, about the other organisations. So there was they got to take away their physical t-shirt, but they also got the incentive to kind of follow up a little bit. So these are just some more pictures. But in general, it was a really kind of fun workshop, because people got very excited and spent a lot of time quite elaborately making the t-shirts into quite spectacular creations, and with a range of noises, and it was just quite a fun way to learn about sound and the physics of sound, and what a speaker does and what a capacitor. It was quite a simple workshop, but I think it was quite enjoyable. So I'll just show you a video of what the final product was. So there we go. So yeah, and I'll just take any questions, I guess.